If I could do it over, I would have fought harder to stay in my own home. I would have explored more ways to get help without giving up my freedom and made sure I truly needed to be here before making such a permanent move. I'm 82 years old and I've learned a lot about life. I've celebrated milestones, mourned losses, and watched the world change in ways I never imagined. But there's one decision I made just a few years ago that I deeply regret: moving into a nursing home. When I made the choice, it seemed like the right thing to do. My family encouraged it, promising that I would have all the care and comfort I needed. I believed them, but once I got here, I realized the reality was nothing like what they had described. I know many of you might be thinking about this option, whether it's for yourself or a loved one. Maybe you feel it's the safest decision, or maybe you've been told it will make life easier. But before you take that step, I want to share 6 things I wish someone had told me. Because the truth is, life in a nursing home isn't just about convenience, it changes everything. And once you go in, getting out isn't as simple as you think. Stay with me until the end, because some of these lessons might surprise you. If you know someone considering a nursing home, this video might be exactly what they need to hear before making a life-changing decision. Regret 1. The loss of my independence. The biggest shock after moving into a nursing home wasn't the small room, the set meal times, or the unfamiliar faces. It was the crushing realization that I had lost control over my own life. Before I moved in, I had my routines. I decided when to wake up, what to eat, and how to spend my day. I could take a walk whenever I wanted, cook my own meals, or just sit quietly in my favorite chair. But inside the nursing home, I quickly learned that my time was no longer my own. Everything ran on a schedule that wasn't mine. Breakfast was at a set time even if I wasn't hungry. Lights out happened at a certain hour whether I was ready or not. Want to take a walk outside? You might need permission, and you'll probably have to wait until someone is available to help. Simple decisions, like what to wear or what to eat, started to feel like privileges instead of basic choices. I remember my first week here, waking up in a bed that didn't feel like mine. I reached for the book I'd been reading at home, and that's when it hit me. This wasn't my home. My books, my favorite chair, the little comforts I had spent years collecting, they were all gone. In their place were sterile walls, a bed I didn't choose, and a feeling I couldn't shake. I was no longer in charge. The hardest part? Realizing that once you give up your independence, getting it back is almost impossible. You adapt because you have to. You stop arguing when they tell you what's for dinner. You stop asking if you can go for a walk whenever you want. You learn to fit into their system, but in the process, you start losing yourself. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make life yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever thought possible. Regret. Number 2, feeling forgotten. One of the hardest truths about moving into a nursing home is realizing that the world outside keeps moving without you. When I first arrived, my family reassured me that they would visit often, and in the beginning they did. My daughter came once a week and my grandchildren visited on weekends. For a little while, it felt like I still had a connection to my old life. But as the months went by, the visits became less frequent. My daughter started calling instead of coming. My grandchildren got busy with school and work. Holidays were the hardest. Everyone promised they'd come, but somehow, plans always changed at the last minute. Suddenly, I found myself sitting alone in a common room, watching other residents stare at the door, hoping today would be the day someone remembered them. It wasn't that my family stopped loving me. Life just got in the way. When you're not around every day, it's easy for people to assume you're fine, that you're adjusting, that you don't need as much attention. But the truth is, the longer you're in a nursing home, the easier it is for people to forget how much you still need them. I remember one evening holding my phone, debating whether to call my son. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to remind him that I was here, waiting for a visit that might never come. So I put the phone down, and that's when it hit me. This was my life now. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the loneliness? Because no matter how much your family loves you, once you're out of sight, it's easier than you think to become out of mind. Regret number 3, the decline of my health. Before I moved into a nursing home, I was doing well for my age. I could still take care of myself, go for walks, and cook my own meals. I had my little routines that kept me moving. But once I moved in, everything changed. At first, it seemed like I was just taking it easy. Meals were brought to me, and I no longer had to stand in the kitchen to cook. If I needed something, I could just push a button, and someone would come help. But what I didn't realize was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. I stopped moving as much, and soon my legs felt stiffer. I sat more than I used to, and before I knew it, getting up from a chair felt like a chore. The muscles I had spent years maintaining were disappearing, faster than I ever expected. I saw it happen to others, too. People who walked in on their own 2 feet were suddenly relying on wheelchairs. People who had once been independent now needed help with things they never struggled with before. The more help we were given, the more we seemed to need it. I met a woman named Alice who was so lively when she first arrived. She used to take daily walks, insisting she wouldn't slow down. But after a few months, she wasn't walking as much. Then she started using a walker, then a wheelchair. One day, she looked at me and said, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." And that's exactly what it felt like. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. In a nursing home where everything is designed to make things easier, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience, it's about surviving. Regret number 4, the loss of my privacy and dignity. One of the things I didn't fully consider was how much privacy I would lose. At home, I had my own space. I could close my bedroom door, sit in silence if I wanted, and do things on my own terms. But in a nursing home, privacy is a luxury you don't always get to keep. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff coming in and out, scheduled room checks, and shared spaces where you're rarely alone. Even simple things like getting dressed or using the bathroom often required someone's assistance. I know they were just doing their job, but it's not easy to accept help for things you've done independently your entire life. Want to take a shower? You might have to wait until someone is available to help. Need to use the restroom? Sometimes pressing the call button means waiting longer than you'd like. And then there was the issue of roommates. Not everyone gets a private room, and sharing a space with a stranger you didn't choose can be frustrating. Dignity is a hard thing to lose. I didn't realize how much of mine I'd have to surrender until I was already there. When people knock but don't always wait for an answer before coming in, when you're spoken to like a patient instead of a person, when your daily routines are dictated by a schedule you didn't create, it changes you. You start feeling less like yourself and more like just another name on a list. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared to give up the privacy and control you've had your entire life? Because once it's gone, it's hard to get back. Regret. 5. The realization that it's harder to leave than you think. When I first moved in, I told myself it was temporary. I thought I'd give it a try, and if I didn't like it, I could always leave. But what I didn't realize was just how hard it would be to get out once I was in. My home wasn't the same anymore. It sat empty, and maintaining it from a distance became difficult. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need. When I brought up the idea of returning, they hesitated. "Are you sure you can manage on your own?" they asked. "Wouldn't it be safer to stay?" And then there was the issue of my physical decline. After months of living in a place where I didn't have to cook, clean, or even walk very far, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. The independence I once had started slipping away, making the idea of moving back home more difficult than I ever imagined. That fear kept me stuck. That's the part nobody tells you. Moving in feels like a decision you can reverse, but for most people, it isn't. The nursing home slowly becomes your whole world, and before you know it, the outside life you once knew starts to feel like a distant memory. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the possibility that once you go in, leaving might not be as simple as you think? Making the right choice. Looking back, I don't regret growing older, but I do regret believing that a nursing home was my only option. I walked in expecting comfort, safety, and a better quality of life. What I found instead was a world that slowly took away my independence, my privacy, my purpose, and even my sense of self. Does that mean all nursing homes are bad? Not at all. Some people genuinely need the level of care they provide. But before you make that decision, think carefully about what you're giving up. If I could do it over, I would have fought harder to stay in my own home. I would have explored more ways to get help without giving up my freedom and made sure I truly needed to be here before making such a permanent move. If you're facing this decision, I hope you take the time to ask yourself, Is this truly what's best for me? Or is it just what seems easiest right now? Because the life you have today, your routines, your independence, your choices, is worth holding on to for as long as you can. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.